Hello, welcome to Consciously Healthy. I'm Laura.
And I'm Claire. You said hello in a very sultry way then.
Oh,
hello.
Hi Wayne, hi. Yes, no, that's what I was going for.
Generally sultry. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about an emotion very close to my heart at the moment, and it's grief. And we are both grieving.
We are both grieving. The Chinese would say it's closer to your lungs.
Very true. Around that kind of chest area.
Staying true to the 5 elements of Chinese medicine.
We should do a podcast on.
Yeah, we should, really. We love that. Anyway, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about grief.
We're talking about grief. And grief is a very important emotion that needs to be expressed. There's a lot of people who really, really struggle with allowing grief to come through.
I think it's an umbrella term, actually. My experience of it is it's more of an umbrella term for quite a wide variety of emotions that can come through all in one go.
Like an experience.
Yeah, like an experience. And it was interesting because I said to someone the other day, I'm 39 years old and
You're grieving your 30s.
Maybe that's what it is. I lost my nana when I was in my 20s, but she had hit a very, 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 very ripe old age, and it genuinely felt for the best. So whilst I was really sad that I'd lost her, I didn't grieve for an extended period of time. And we've lost pets and all that kind of stuff. And again, it's like I can feel the sorrow and I feel the pain of it and the weight of it. But it's something that I've always bounced back from quite quickly. And I've never been through such a big process of grieving.
And when we say grieving, it's not just about losing people, is it? It's also losing a way of life. It's losing relationships. It's
losing anything. So the woman who kind of really identified what is going on with grief was a woman called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And the model that she created, the psychological model that she created, is still followed when people are dealing with grief. And so, what you were going to say there was about how, what were you going to say?
Oh, well, I had quite a few things that I was about to say. Do you want to keep talking about Kubler-Ross's curve?
It's just because it tied in with what you were saying.
Oh, something wise. Can't remember.
Okay, fine. So anyway, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And she identified that there are 5 stages that we go through during grief. Yeah. And so it's this, I'm on a journey, and that was it. I've remembered. Thank goodness.
Not just losing
people. So you remembered too.
Yeah.
She said it's not just about losing people. She said it's about losing anything, or it can just be change. So, we go through the same experiences when we lose we could lose a loved one, or we could lose our favourite lipstick. It's like the emotional process.
Do you grieve lipstick?
The emotional process is the same. It's just when it's something like losing a spouse or losing a loved one like a parent, it's just much more extended, and we maybe feel the emotions much more deeply than just losing our favourite lipstick, which is quite interesting actually.
Yeah.
And we're so good at just getting on, right?
Oh, we're great at that in this country. I think it's one of the fascinating things about watching a funeral in the UK is that people are congratulated for having a stiff upper lip and I didn't show too many emotions and I held it together. Whereas if you look at other countries and they're wailing and they're on the
clawing
and
the body.
And there's so much colour as well. I think that's one of the there's in a lot of other cultures in their funerals there's so much more colour, and whereas we kind of, it's very
quiet,
structured.
And black actually, from a perspective of colour therapy, is an absorbing colour. It's all about absorbing. And not great for grieving, because grief actually really needs to come out. Yeah. I have said to husband that, there will be no dignified if he dies first, which, clearly with the amount of supplements I've been taking for the last 15 years is going to happen. I said there's going to be no dignified. I said I'm, throwing myself at the coffin in a really dramatic kind of way.
Oh, good grief, yes. A good grief.
Good grief. I like that.
So do you want to talk about the 5 stages?
Yeah, the 5 stages. So the first stage of grief is, or change, bereavement, is denial. So it is literally that I can't believe they've gone, or I can't believe I've lost that favourite lipstick.
It's like a shock.
Yeah, no, it's not really happening. It's like a dream. It's not really happening. So everyone goes into denial. Following denial, so we go through this, we map through the stages in this way. So following denial is anger. And
why has this happened to me?
Yeah, it's not fair, it's not fair. And yes, anger is it's really important, because the thing with anger, particularly in Britain, is we don't voice our anger. We're very stiff upper lip about it, which is why it's so important. We've been talking about this in previous episodes. It is so important to find healthy ways of expressing your anger, because particularly with grief, if you can't get through the anger, you can't move forward.
Yeah, so you get stuck in a certain stage of grief, and it's why we really, really struggle to be able to move through and to get to the final stages. Yeah.
So bargaining, and the way that I like to look at bargaining, it might be that you, so in the experience of someone maybe with terminal cancer, the bargaining might be, it's almost like it's offering up the prayer to the higher being of, you know, whatever you believe in, of, you know, please just let me get through to after Christmas. Please just let me spend this last Christmas with my...
If I do this, can I have that?
Yeah. Or in a breakup, it might be, can we still be friends? Can we, you know, I still want something.
Or with terminal cancer, it's the, okay, I'll change my diet. I will go down the alternative health route, and it's that kind of clutching at straws. If I do this, then I can have this.
Yeah, absolutely. And with our favourite lipstick, the bargaining might just be something as simple as, well, I'll see if I can find a shade from a different brand. Because I can't find that brand.
Compensation.
Yeah.
And the next stage?
The next stage is depression. So there is like a full drop into a deep sadness.
This is the upset, this is the tears, this is the place that we tend to be familiar with when it comes to grief.
Yeah. Sadness, regret, fear, uncertainty. And this is a real sign that somebody has started to accept their situation. So it's actually a really great place. In a funny kind of way, it's where we are.
Yeah.
But it's not funny, actually.
There's no funny. It's honestly, there's quite regular sobbing.
Yeah.
But what's beautiful about, and I recommend that you have a look at the Kubler-Ross curve of change and grief cycle on Google, so you can actually see it physically. And
it's Kubler, Kubler, Ross, Kubler-Ross.
Well done for doing that. Thanks. And we can go through these different stages, and we can get to an acceptance. But sometimes it can be a cycle, so we can go back into bargaining, we can go back into depression, and there may be other emotions that we need to revisit. So it's...
Oh yeah, we can skip and jump and...
Yeah, it tends to not be, you know, no one is the same when it comes to going through grief, and you can go through them in any kind of order, and if you need to revisit them.
Yeah, definitely. And then if you don't deal with them, so if you don't get the anger out properly, you're going to have to go back there.
Yeah.
So it is really worth, you know, whenever the feelings come up, just really being in them.
That's our mantra,
That's our mantra, yeah. Be in it.
What's your tip for grief?
And the fifth. The fifth is acceptance. And so this is really, you know, we see this a lot so it's a sign of... acceptance is emotional objectivity around it. So particularly we're going to use the example of someone with terminal cancer. It's very common for that person to come to peace. You know, they go through their process, and, you know, they've gone through their cycle. And with all the support that's out there these days, they come to a point of acceptance and peace before they pass away. They usually come to that place of acceptance a long time before the people who are grieving for them. So it can be quite hard for the family. But the acceptance then is when we're allowed to move into a different phase. So yeah,
it's
really
such a natural part of life. I remember when I first discovered the Chinese 5-element theory, and they look at nature and the seasons, and how when we come to autumn, that nature literally lets go. It grieves the summer, and it's such a natural process for the leaves to drop off the trees. And yet us as human beings really, really struggle letting things go. And the more that we can allow life to change and for things to drop away, the more that we can allow new things to come into our lives. So I think that's very true with if someone really struggles with expressing grief, then they will not be able to allow new things into their lives.
No, absolutely. So what's your top tip?
Oh God, loads, I've got loads.
Okay, well I'll do mine first.
Great.
Mine is... all of those feelings, I kind of said it earlier, but every single one of the feelings that comes up, allow yourself to drop into it. And also tell the people that you're close to that you're grieving. If they don't know, tell the people that you're close to, the people that you see quite regularly, because that just, I feel that gives me permission to be however I need to be. So if I'm seeing friends and I sort of say, when they say, how are you doing? And I go, actually, I'm in the process of grieving. It means I don't have to pretend to be all happy and joyful. And isn't this brilliant? Like, I'm still there. Like, we're still chatting to each other. It's just, it's not an extra 10% happy. And so not covering that over and putting the mask on is really important.
I have 2 techniques for grief. One is emotional stress relief. So just place your hand on your forehead and think about the thing that you were grieving. That can be a really effective way of letting emotion come through. And I would recommend the flower remedy, the back flower remedy of water violet for grief. So if you are struggling with a grief at the moment, then get yourself some of that.
Lovely.
Water violet.
Good top tips.
Lovely. That's grief.
We will see you next time. Stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye.